Hi, in this segment, we will compare Miro and Mural in terms of data usage and loading responsiveness times with a slower connection. Here I have a blank Mural and I'm gonna open the browser inspection tools. They can be found if you Google your browser name and development tool in Chrome. That is the three dots, more tools, and then developer tools. Here we have a network tab, which is what we will use mostly. And the first thing I want to call out is I'm going to leave the cache enabled, but I will run the first call hitting the control button. So in order, by virtue of doing that, we simulate someone visiting this page for the first time, meaning that nothing is cached inside the browser. The browser cache is one of the best practices that every developer does out there. So basically, once you download something that you need again, you don't do another server call, but you just use it from the browser. That's where the cache is, inside the browser. So the first calls we will run them with simulating an empty cache so that it can be more realistic. There's the other thing to call out is down here we see transferred and resources. So transfer is the actual data that transfers from the servers to your machine. That data, again, for following best practices, is very often compressed. And once it's uncompressed, it becomes the larger number that is on the other side. So here we are, a blank slate, a 3.5 meg for Mural. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna drag in some images and see how long it takes and how much impact that has on loading times. So I have a couple of images here, are all up 5 meg. There are landscape and a satellite image. I do not recommend using this sizes. You can probably find something fit for purpose at a smaller size, but let's drag them in and see how long that takes to upload. So we see 1 out of 2. We see this little like icons, like progress icon was pretty fast. We'll see later when we throttle. And we now see that a few meg were transferred. But what I'm interested in more than the upload is once we refresh this page, are we gonna have like 5 meg worth of data transfer? So let's do a refresh that clears the cache and see what happens. So again, we see the 3.6 meg transferred. So I guess what happens here is the data is compressed, sent down as compressed, and then it kind of like stays that way. The other thing to keep in mind is that those images were about 5,000 pixel wide. Right now they're 1,000, so I'm gonna enlarge them to reach back to the 5,000, to the initial 5,000. I'm gonna put them in place and do another refresh and clear the cache again and see if for some reason those 5 meg will come down on the first load. Again, it looks like at this zoom level, again, we're zoomed out at 8%, that is not an issue. So what happens if we go in? So if we go in, it looks like some of it is, some data get decompressed. It goes back to 19 meg over there. But again, there is nothing like, whatever they're doing on their side is pretty good. So that's Mural in terms of like large, I guess, 5 meg, and we'll see we use the same image inside Miro to kind of do a comparison, an apple to apple as much as we can with the two. Watching this in post-production, I realized that I wanted to add some notes. What this means is that your user is not impacted by your large images. Of course, it doesn't mean that you should use them. It just means that Mural is handling that really well. The other thing that happens is the data gets decompressed, but you don't get like more network calls. So really an excellent technical job it appears to be. So the next thing I want to try is to load this in as a visitor. So I'm gonna copy this URL and open a new browser as incognito, and we're gonna see how long does it take to load that page, which has those two images. We set, we enter, and again it's 4.5 meg. We have the 13 uncompressed. That's pretty good, it's pretty excellent. as we zoom in, I expect some of that to be kind of like the resources, the uncompressed resources, to kind of like get a little bit bigger. But that's pretty good, and the speed and the responsiveness is pretty good. We know that adding post-its is basically something in real time, so we've already tested that in previous segments. What I'm more interested in doing is now throttling the internet connection. We can do that through this little drop down, and if we click on that, we can pick edit those speeds. There is one really slow and one that is an ADSL dial-up. So let's start with the ADSL dial-up and see how long does it take to load this page, and how much slower is it when we are on an ADSL line. Should we go grab a tea? We just stretch. How long do you think it's gonna take with an ADSL line to load a mural that has those two images in it? So this blank screen, this is not, there you go, this is the one that we usually, sometimes we see, we get stuck on this and refreshing fixes it. What we saw earlier, the blank screen, that is just loading time, and you see that little icon, that meant that something was happening in the background. Again, the responsiveness, let's test that out. Let's put it side by side and see how moving things, it seems to be pretty excellent. And yeah, so let's zoom in so that we see that, or even better, let's summon everyone, so doing well. And if we move stuff around as well, it seems to be, yeah, a little bit of a delay. Yeah. So there you have it. What happens if I try to upload something on this low connection? Well, obviously it's gonna be taking a little bit longer. So let's try and upload the same files that we uploaded on the other side, but over here, and see what we get. So yeah, we got those little progress, kind of like giving feedback to the user that is taking a while. It says uploading 1 out of 2. So this is the first one. And on the other side, this person at this time doesn't even know that something is getting added. So again, those images are very large. I strongly advise not to try and do that. But yeah, sometimes people upload stuff that is pretty large, and on an ADSL connection, that seems to be getting kind of like forgotten. What is important though is that you can continue contribute on this space. So you see, like, that post-it note is the one that I'm editing on this side. So all that is the core functionality for collaboration. Uploading those images is just like a way to kind of like stretch the tools to see where the limit is. But the important thing is that you can add those, and that seems to be working out pretty well. And when I've done this with open spaces and larger groups, occasionally I've heard people complaining. In post-production, I realized complaining about what? Well, complaining about a little bit of a slower response when sticky notes were moving. Even in that complaining, I didn't hear this stopped us from working, but I wanted to share that. Some people feel like that. And that is always hard to kind of like get to pinpoint to an issue. My first recommendation is to run a refresh. I've seen that resolving quite a few problems. What we'll do is, after this thing finishes uploading, is reducing the speed even more, going down to the really slow one, and see what the result is over there. So as you see stuff, I mean, those are still uploading. What if we upload, I mean, this is a pretty nice mountain background with 500K. So this is a 500 kilobytes. And that is usually the size I use for my backgrounds. Like a few hundred kilobytes is excellent enough to do the work. I said it multiple times now, try avoid those large megabyte files unless you have a very good reason. You can achieve very good results with 100 of kilobytes. And yeah, you see, like, stuff of course uploads in parallel. And how about this one? This is an 80 kilobyte image. And I think the upload here was with this dial up at 300 kilobyte per second. So I mean that got up there. So something to keep in mind. The other thing that I wanted to show you with this ADSL / dial-up connection is the images portion. Sometimes we've seen in the other segments finding photos. That is gonna take a toll. You see, like it takes a little while for those images to show up. When you click them on the right hand side, they're little like cubes. So yeah, something to keep in mind. What I noticed when I work with people with slower connections, I just tend to not use images or to have very, very small ones. Mural does a very good job at this preloading stuff. So that blank screen that we see at the beginning, I have a hunch that it's doing a lot of this preloading, because once we get here, we see it like this. We'll see how Miro handles this. Let's try, and I've removed all the images, and I'm just gonna leave those two icons and see how long it takes to load. Yeah, so not really like a huge difference. So again, the fact that you have a slow internet connection, it just means that it's gonna take a while to transfer those initial 6-7 megabytes, images or no images. Yes, another test that I wanted to do was to load up multiple images. So what happens if we want to use things like images, things like trees for some background stuff? So I'm gonna start copying them over, and again on the right hand side we have the slow internet connection. So we'll see how that is impacted. And so once things are cached on the board, they don't seem to be. You see on the right hand side they're pretty fast. So that's pretty good. All right, let's do a reload on the right hand side. So right now, let's do it, since keeping apples to apples, I've actually flushing the cache. Cool. And so here we are. Images take a little bit, but they're all loaded. So once they get cached, now I'm just gonna do a regular refresh. Once those images are cached, once the stuff is cached, so this is again the ADSL speed, things are not a huge issue anymore. So we're gonna try and make the same test inside Miro.